Dr. Huan stood on the hidden research station they had built inside a crater on Earth's moon. Through the station's windows, he could see the blue planet turning slowly below them. It had been 2 months since they arrived, and every day brought new surprises. The station was small but well-equipped. They had the best scanning equipment the Council could provide. Everything was hidden under fake rock that looked just like the rest of the moon's surface. The humans couldn't detect them, but they could watch everything the humans did. Researcher Yoon was at her workstation, studying the latest data. She had been watching human behavior patterns for weeks now. Her reports were getting stranger each day. "Doctor, you need to see this," Yoon said. "I've been tracking a human city during their winter season. Look at what happens when the temperature drops." On her screen, thermal images showed a large human city covered in snow. The images were from the previous night when the temperature had been very cold. "See these heat signatures moving through the streets?" Yoon pointed to small dots moving between buildings. "These are humans going out in dangerous cold to help other humans who have no shelter." Huan moved closer to the screen. "They risk their own lives to help strangers?" "Not just strangers. Some of these helpers are from completely different social groups, different races, different religions, different economic levels. But when the cold comes, they work together." "That doesn't match their category red profile," Huan said. "Violent species don't usually help their own kind." "It gets stranger," Yoon continued. She changed the display to show different parts of the planet. "Here's a region where 2 human groups have been fighting for decades. But when an earthquake hit last week, both sides stopped fighting to rescue trapped people. They worked together for 5 days, then went back to fighting." Huan sat down heavily. Nothing about humans made sense according to any models they had for intelligent species. "There's more," Yoon said. "Watch this." She showed video footage from human cities. "These are their young. See how the adults protect them?" The footage showed human children playing while adults watched carefully. But it also showed something else. Human adults would risk their lives to protect any child, not just their own. Yesterday, I watched a human adult jump into dangerous water to save a child that wasn't related to them. The adult couldn't swim very well and almost died. But they kept trying until both were safe. Huan had studied hundreds of species. Most protected their own offspring. Some protected offspring of their close social groups. But humans seemed to protect all young humans, even ones they had never met. "Dr. Huan," came a voice from the communication system. It was Agent Song. She had been on Earth's surface for 6 weeks now, using advanced camouflage technology to move among humans without being detected. "What's your status, Agent Song?" Huan replied. "I'm in one of their major cities. I need to report something that doesn't fit any of our models." "Go ahead." "The humans have created systems to control their own violent behavior. They call them laws, but they're more than that. They're like promises they make to each other about how to act." "Many species have laws," Huan said. "Not like this. These humans actively choose to follow rules that go against their immediate desires. I watched a human find a bag full of their money that someone had dropped. The human spent hours trying to find the owner instead of keeping it." Yoon looked up from her screens. "That doesn't make sense. Why would they give up something valuable? Because they believe it's wrong to take things that belong to others," Song replied. "But here's the strange part. This same human carries a weapon for protection. He could easily take anything he wanted by force. But he chooses not to." Huan felt a headache coming on. "Song, are you saying they restrain themselves on purpose?" "Yes, and it's not just individuals. Their entire societies are built around controlling their worst impulses. They know they can be violent and destructive, so they create systems to prevent that." "But they still fight wars," Huan said. "They do. But even in war, they have rules. Rules about not harming civilians, not destroying certain targets, not using certain weapons. They created something called the Geneva Convention that even enemy soldiers follow." Huan had to sit down again. In all his years of studying alien species, he had never encountered anything like this. Most violent species either learned to control their aggression completely, or they destroyed themselves. Humans seem to be doing something entirely different. "Song, I need you to find out more about their decision-making processes. How do they choose between violent and peaceful responses?" "Already working on it, Doctor. I've been watching their leaders discuss a current conflict. They have meetings where they argue about the right thing to do. Some want to fight, others want to talk. But they keep talking to each other even when they disagree strongly." "Do they ever reach agreements?" "Sometimes. And when they do, both sides usually follow the agreement even if they don't like it. They seem to value keeping promises more than winning." Yoon brought up new data on her screen. "Doctor, I think I found something important." "Look at their entertainment. The screen showed human movies, books, and stories. Their fiction is full of heroes and villains, but the heroes almost always win by being brave and kind, not by being more violent than the villains. So they admire nonviolence? Juan asked. Yes and no. They admire people who can be violent but choose not to be. Their heroes are usually people who could hurt others, but only fight to protect innocent people. Song's voice came through the communicator again. Doctor, I need to show you something. Can you access human communication networks from there? Yes, what am I looking for? Search for something they call social media. Look for posts about their companion animals. Juan connected to human networks. What he found amazed him. Millions of posts about animals that humans kept in their homes. Dogs, cats, birds, and many others. Song, these are predator species. Why do humans keep predators in their homes? They don't see them as predators anymore. They've made them into family members. They feed them, care for them when they're sick, and mourn them when they die. Some humans spend enormous amounts of money to keep sick animals alive. That's impossible. Predators can't be domesticated to that degree. Watch this, Song said. She sent a video file to the station. It showed a large human male playing gently with a small kitten. The kitten was attacking the human's hand, but the human was careful not to hurt it even though he could have easily crushed it. They've learned to control their strength around weaker beings, Yoon observed, even when those beings attack them. There's something else, Song added. They have places called animal shelters where they care for animals that have no homes. Volunteers spend their free time feeding and caring for animals they don't own and will never see again. Juan stood up and walked to the window facing Earth. The planet looked so peaceful from here. But down there, billions of humans were living their complex, contradictory lives. Song, Yoon, I need you both to focus on one question. We know humans can be incredibly violent. We know they have weapons that could destroy worlds, but they also show more compassion than most peaceful species. How is this possible? Maybe they're not broken, Yoon said quietly. Maybe there's something new. What do you mean? Every species we know either evolved past violence or got destroyed by it. But what if humans are the first species trying to evolve beyond violence while keeping all their other traits? What if they're choosing to become better instead of just naturally becoming peaceful? Juan thought about this. It would explain why humans seemed so contradictory. They weren't naturally peaceful like most council species. They were actively fighting their own nature every day and often winning. If that's true, Juan said slowly, then we might be looking at the most important discovery in galactic history. Or the most dangerous, Song added. A species that can choose to be violent or peaceful based on the situation? That's completely unpredictable. Keep studying them, Juan ordered. We need to understand what drives their choices. The council is going to ask for our recommendation soon. When they do, I want to be sure we're giving them the right answer. He looked down at Earth again. Somewhere down there, humans were making thousands of choices between kindness and cruelty, between violence and peace. The future of both species might depend on understanding those choices. Dr. Juan stared at the data screen in his lab. The numbers made no sense. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked again. The readings were still the same. Something was very wrong with this new species they had found. The blue planet spun slowly on his monitor. It looked peaceful from space. Green lands and white clouds covered most of it. But the data told a different story. This planet was home to the most dangerous species the Galactic Council had ever discovered. Juan picked up his communication device. He needed to call Captain Lee right away. The captain was still near the planet with his survey ship. Lee answered after 2 beeps. Captain Lee here. What do you need, Doctor? Lee, you need to get away from that planet. Right now. The data I'm seeing is impossible. What kind of impossible? Lee asked. His voice sounded worried. These creatures have weapons that can destroy entire cities. They fight wars that kill millions of their own kind. But that's not the worst part. They do this while living together in huge groups. Some of their cities have more beings than entire planets in our system. Lee was quiet for a moment. Doctor, are you sure about this? The planet looks so calm from up here. I'm sure. Send me everything your scanners picked up. Every piece of data. We need to get this to the council immediately. 2 hours later, Juan was walking through the great halls of Nexus Prime. The council building was massive. It had to be. Representatives from 300 different worlds met here to make decisions for the galaxy. Today they would hear about the humans. Admiral Park was waiting for him in the emergency meeting room. Park was old even for his long-lived species. He had seen many new species join the council. He had also seen some species that never got the chance to join. "Show me what you found," Park said without greeting. Juan connected his datapad to the room's main display. Images of Earth appeared on the wall. Then came the weapon scans. Park's face grew darker with each image. "These are their weapons?" Park asked. "Some of them. They have small weapons that can kill from great distances. They have bombs that can level mountains. And Doctor, they have weapons that can split atoms. Weapons that could destroy their entire world." Park stood up slowly. "Have they used these atom weapons?" "Yes, against their own species, twice, but here's what I don't understand. After using them, they made agreements to limit them. They seem to know how dangerous they are." "That makes them even more dangerous," Park said. "A species that knows the power of such weapons but still makes them. We've seen this before. It never ends well." More council members arrived. General Choi entered first. He was younger than Park but had fought in the last Galactic War. He knew what dangerous species could do. Behind him came Counselor Kim. She represented the peaceful worlds that wanted to give new species chances to join them. Juan showed them everything. The human cities with millions of beings living close together, their wars that never seemed to end, their weapons that got more deadly each year. But he also showed them human art, their music, and their stories. "I don't understand," Kim said. "They create such beautiful things, but they also create terrible weapons. How is this possible?" "We think they're broken somehow," General Choi said. "Most species grow out of violence before they reach space travel. These humans seem to be getting more violent as they get smarter." Juan pulled up more data. "There's something else. They're advancing faster than any species we've recorded. In just 100 years, they went from simple flying machines to landing on their moon. At this rate, they'll have ships that can travel between stars in maybe 50 years. The room became very quiet. Every council member knew what this meant. A violent species with star travel was the galaxy's worst fear. Admiral Park broke the silence. "According to our classification system, where do they fit?" Juan had hoped someone else would say it. "Category Red. Category Red?" Kim asked. "But we haven't used that classification in 3,000 years. "Because we haven't found a species that needed it," Choi said. "Category Red means they're a threat to all galactic life." Park looked at each council member. "We have 3 choices. We can try to contact them and hope they're peaceful. We can wait and watch them develop. Or we can act now while they're still trapped on their world." "You mean destroy them?" Kim said. It wasn't a question. "I mean protect the galaxy," Choi replied. "If we wait, they might become too powerful to stop." Juan had studied many species. He had helped dozens join the galactic community. But he had never seen anything like humans. "Admiral, I request permission to study them more closely before we make any final decisions." "How closely?" Park asked. "I want to put a research station near their world. Maybe on their moon. We need to understand them better." "That's very dangerous," Choi said. "If they detect us, they might see it as an attack." "If we don't understand them, we might make the wrong choice," Juan replied. Kim nodded. "I agree with Dr. Juan. We should learn more before we act." Park thought for a long moment. "Very well. Dr. Juan, you have permission to set up a hidden research station. But if these humans show any sign of detecting you, you retreat immediately. And if they develop star travel before we understand them, we may have to act quickly." "I understand," Juan said. "One more thing," Park added. "This information doesn't leave this room. If other species learn about a Category Red classification, it could cause panic across the galaxy." The meeting ended, but Juan stayed behind. He stared at the images of Earth still showing on the wall. Somewhere down there, billions of humans were living their lives. They had no idea that their entire species had just been marked as the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Captain Lee contacted him again as he walked back to his lab. "Doctor, I've been watching this planet for hours. I can see their cities glowing at night. I can detect their communication signals. They're sending music and stories into space. Does that sound like something a dangerous species would do?" Juan stopped walking. "What kind of music?" "All kinds. Happy songs, sad songs, angry songs. And stories about heroes and villains and love and friendship. It's like they're trying to share their best parts with anyone who might be listening." Juan felt something strange in his chest. Hope, maybe, or fear. He wasn't sure which. "Keep watching them, Captain. Record everything." We need to understand what we're dealing with. Yes, sir, Doctor. Do you really think they're as dangerous as the classification says? Juan looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were probably looking up at their own stars and wondering if they were alone in the universe. Soon they would find out they weren't. The question was whether that discovery would save them or destroy them. I don't know, Captain, but I'm going to find out. Captain Lee was reviewing the latest reports from Earth when his ship's sensors detected something that made his blood run cold. The humans had launched something new into space. It was heading toward their moon. Commander, get me Dr. Juan immediately, Lee ordered. The communication connected within seconds. Doctor, we have a problem. The humans just sent a ship toward their moon. They're going to find your research station. How long do we have? Juan's voice was tense, maybe 2 of their days. The ship is moving faster than their usual technology should allow. We're not ready to abandon the station yet. We're still gathering critical data. Doctor, if they find you, this becomes a first contact situation. The Council hasn't authorized that yet. Juan was quiet for a moment. Captain, monitor their communications. Find out what this mission is about. Maybe they're not heading for our location. Lee's crew worked quickly to intercept human communications about the moon mission. What they found was both surprising and troubling. Doctor, they know something is on their moon. They're calling it an anomaly. Their mission is specifically to investigate unusual readings in the same area where your station is hidden. How could they detect us? Our camouflage should be perfect, and I don't know, but they found you. What are your orders? Before Juan could answer, Agent Song's voice came over the emergency channel. Doctor, I'm monitoring the launch from Earth's surface. You need to know something about this mission. Go ahead, Song. The team they're sending includes their best scientists and their top military officers, but they also included artists, musicians, and philosophers. This isn't just a research mission. They're preparing for the possibility of meeting someone. Lee checked his instruments again. Doctor, there's something else. I'm detecting more human ships being prepared for launch. They're not just sending one mission. They're preparing for multiple scenarios. What kind of scenarios? Defense, communication, evacuation, and something they're calling peaceful contact protocols. Juan realized what this meant. They think someone might be watching them. It's worse than that, Song said. I've been monitoring their government communications. They've been detecting strange signals and energy readings for months. They know someone is here, but they haven't announced it to their general population. Why not? Juan asked. Because they're scared their people will panic, but also because they want to make contact in the right way. They're actually protecting us by keeping it secret. Lee couldn't believe what he was hearing. They're protecting us. We're the ones with advanced technology and weapons. Captain, you don't understand humans yet, Song replied. They assume that any species with the technology to travel between stars must be more advanced than them. They're approaching this as the less powerful species meeting a more powerful one. That's backwards, Lee said. They're the category red species. They're the threat, are they? Juan asked quietly. Song, what are they planning to do when they reach our station? Their mission plan calls for careful observation first. If they find evidence of intelligent life, they'll attempt communication using mathematics and basic symbols. They're bringing gifts. Gifts? Samples of their art, music, and literature. They want to show us their best qualities first. Lee was studying the approaching human ship. Doctor, I'm reading their ship's configuration. They have weapons, but they're not armed for attack. The weapons are defensive only. How can you tell? Weapon placement and power allocation. They're set up to protect the ship, not to attack something else. Also, their communication array is much more powerful than their weapons. They're prioritizing talking over fighting. Juan made a decision that would change everything. Captain Lee, I want you to contact Admiral Park immediately. Tell him we need authorization for first contact. Doctor, that's not our decision to make. It's about to become our only option. Song, how long before the human ship reaches the moon? 36 hours. That's not enough time to get council approval for anything, Lee said. Then we make contact without approval, Juan replied. Better that than let them discover us and think we're spying on them secretly. Doctor, that could be seen as an act of war by both sides, Lee warned. Or it could be the beginning of something new. The next 30 hours were the longest in Juan's life. He spent them preparing for humanity's first meeting with alien intelligence. He studied everything they had learned about human psychology and culture. He prepared simple mathematical concepts that any intelligent species should understand. Most importantly, he tried to predict how humans would react. Song provided constant updates from Earth's surface. "Doctor, their news networks are starting to ask questions about the moon mission. Some reporters suspect something unusual is happening. How are the humans responding? Their governments are still keeping the secret, but it's getting harder. Social media is full of theories about aliens. Most humans seem excited by the possibility rather than frightened." Excited? They've been hoping for contact their whole lives. Their entertainment is full of stories about meeting other species. Most of those stories are about becoming friends with aliens, not fighting them. Lee had positioned his ship to observe the meeting. "Doctor, the human ship will reach your location in 2 hours. Are you ready?" "As ready as anyone can be for the most important conversation in galactic history." "What if this goes wrong?" "Then we'll deal with the consequences." But Song's reports suggest they want this to go right as much as we do. The human ship appeared over the crater where the research station was hidden. For several minutes, both sides just waited. The humans were scanning the area, trying to understand what they were seeing. The station's camouflage was holding, but the humans clearly knew something was there. Then the humans did something unexpected. Instead of landing or sending down weapons, they broadcast a simple mathematical sequence. Prime numbers followed by basic arithmetic, then geometric shapes. "They're trying to prove they're intelligent," Yoon observed. "They're starting with universal concepts." Hwan took a deep breath. "Send the sequence back to them, then add the next logical progression." The response from the human ship was immediate. More mathematics, then simple pictures showing planetary systems and stars. They were trying to indicate where they came from. "Doctor," Song's voice came through the communicator. "I'm monitoring their ship's communications. They're incredibly excited. Their first words when they got your response were, 'They're friendly.'" "How could they know that?" "Because you answered their mathematics instead of attacking them. To humans, that proves you want to communicate." The exchange continued for hours. Mathematics led to basic scientific concepts, then to simple images. The humans sent pictures of their planet, their species, and their art. Hwan responded with similar images from the council worlds. Finally, the moment came for real communication. The humans sent a message in their own language, followed by the same message translated into mathematical concepts. "Welcome, friends from the stars. We are humans from the planet Earth. We hope for peace and understanding between our peoples." Hwan composed his response carefully. He sent it in both mathematical form and in the human language that Song had taught their translation systems. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We have been studying your world and your people. We come in peace and hope for friendship." The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Then the human ship sent a single word. "Finally." Lee's voice came over the communicator. "Doctor, you've just made first contact with a Category Red species. The Council is going to want explanations." "Then we better make sure we have good ones," Hwan replied. "Song, what's happening on Earth?" "Their governments are trying to decide whether to announce this to their people. But the news is starting to leak out anyway. So far, the public reaction is positive. Humans are celebrating." "They're celebrating? They've always hoped they weren't alone in the universe. Finding out they're not is like a dream come true for most of them." Hwan looked at the human ship hovering above them. Inside that ship were representatives of a species that had been classified as the greatest threat to galactic civilization. But everything about their behavior suggested they wanted to be friends, not enemies. "Captain Lee, send a message to Admiral Park. Tell him that first contact with humans has been successful and peaceful. Request immediate permission to continue formal diplomatic contact. And if he says no, then we'll have to decide which is more important, following orders or preventing a war that nobody wants." The human ship was still broadcasting messages of friendship and hope. Somewhere on Earth, billions of humans were about to learn they weren't alone in the universe. The choices made in the next few hours would determine whether that knowledge brought them closer to the stars or led to their destruction. Hwan hoped they would choose wisely. All of them. The emergency council session had been going for 6 hours. Admiral Park sat at the head of the great table, looking more tired than Hwan had ever seen him. General Choi was angry, pacing back and forth as he argued. Counselor Kim was studying the reports from Earth with growing amazement. Dr. Hwan made unauthorized first contact with a Category Red species, Choi said for the 10th time. "This breaks every protocol we have. It could be seen as an act of war." "Against whom?" Kim asked. The humans responded peacefully. They seemed grateful for contact, not angry about it. That could be a trick, Joy replied. Dangerous species are often deceptive. Admiral Park raised his hand for silence. Dr. Juan explained to us exactly what happened during first contact. Juan stood up. Admiral, the humans detected our research station despite our best camouflage technology. They sent a ship to investigate, but their approach was clearly peaceful. They broadcast mathematical concepts to show intelligence and peaceful intent. When we responded similarly, they immediately began trying to establish friendly communication. And now, Park asked, now they're waiting. They've returned to Earth to discuss the situation with their governments. They've asked for formal diplomatic meetings. What do their people know? Kim asked. Their governments told them everything. The existence of the Galactic Council, the fact that we've been studying them, and the possibility of joining the galactic community. The human population's response has been overwhelmingly positive. Of course it has, Choi said. They think they're about to gain access to advanced technology and new worlds to conquer. Actually, General, that's not what they're excited about, Juan replied. Agent Song has been monitoring their communications. They're most excited about learning new science, sharing their art and culture, and proving they can be trusted members of a galactic community. Lies, Choi said flatly. I don't think so, Kim said. Doctor, what evidence do we have of their real intentions? They've begun implementing what they call first contact protocols. These are guidelines they created for how to behave responsibly when meeting alien species. The protocols emphasize peaceful interaction, cultural exchange, and careful introduction of new technologies to prevent social disruption. They created these protocols themselves? Park asked. Yes, Admiral. They've been planning for this possibility for decades. They actually have multiple protocols for different types of contact scenarios. Kim leaned forward. What kind of scenarios? Peaceful contact, hostile contact, technologically superior species, technologically inferior species, and something they call failed first contact recovery, procedures for repairing relationships if initial meetings go badly. They planned for the possibility that they might mess up first contact? Park asked. Yes, sir. And they created procedures for apologizing and trying again. General Choi stopped pacing. None of this changes the fact that they're category red. Dr. Juan, you've been studying them for months. In your professional opinion, are they a threat to galactic civilization? Juan had been dreading this question. His answer would determine the fate of humanity. General, they are potentially the most dangerous species we've ever encountered, but not in the way we thought. Explain. They're not dangerous because they're violent. They're dangerous because they're adaptable. Every other species in the galaxy reached spaceflight after becoming essentially peaceful. Humans are attempting it while retaining their full emotional and competitive range. This makes them unpredictable in ways we've never had to consider. So they are a threat, Choi said. They're a threat to our understanding of how intelligent species develop. They're a threat to our assumption that technological advancement requires emotional suppression. They're a threat to the idea that galactic civilization must be static to be stable. Kim was nodding. In other words, they're not a threat to destroy us. They're a threat to change us, exactly. The humans are proving that it's possible to grow technologically without giving up the qualities that make life meaningful. Their art, their passion, their willingness to take risks for abstract principles. These things usually disappear as species become more civilized. And you think this is good? Choi asked. I think it's unprecedented. Whether it's good or bad depends on what we do about it. Admiral Park stood up. Dr. Juan, the Council has reached a preliminary decision. We're going to test them. Test them how? We're going to present humanity with a series of scenarios. Historical situations that have revealed the true nature of every species we've encountered. If they pass these tests, we'll consider them for limited membership in the Council. If they fail, we implement containment protocols, Choi finished. What kind of tests? Juan asked. Kim pulled up a display showing the test scenarios. Resource scarcity, technological superiority over neighbors, discovery of a primitive species, and the opportunity for conquest without consequences. These scenarios will be artificial, Park explained. We'll create situations that appear real to them, but are actually controlled environments. Agent Song will coordinate the tests from Earth. Admiral, with respect, humans are very good at detecting deception. If they realize the scenarios are fake, they might see it as a betrayal of trust. That's a risk we'll have to take. Park said. The tests begin immediately. 3 weeks later, Juan was watching the results of the first test. The council had artificially created a resource shortage on a small island where humans lived. They wanted to see how humans would respond to scarcity. Agent Song, what's happening? Juan asked. The humans are organizing sharing protocols, Song replied. Instead of fighting over the limited resources, they're calculating how to distribute them fairly. They've also begun developing alternative resources and conservation methods. Any violence? Some arguments about the best strategies, but no physical conflict. They seem to view the crisis as a problem to solve, together rather than a competition to win. The second test involved giving a small human nation access to advanced weapon technology to see if they would use it to conquer their neighbors. They've established a weapons control committee, Song reported. They're treating the new technology as something too dangerous for any one group to control. They're creating international agreements about how it can be used. Are they keeping the weapons? They're keeping some for defense, but they're sharing the technology with potential enemies to maintain balance. They seem more afraid of having an unfair advantage than of being vulnerable. The third test was perhaps the most revealing. The council created fake evidence of a primitive alien species on a nearby planet and observed how humans would respond. Doctor, you need to see this, Song said urgently. The humans have been debating for 3 days about whether to make contact with the primitive species. What's the debate about? Whether they have the right to interfere with a less advanced civilization. Some want to help the aliens develop faster. Others argue that contact might damage the alien culture. They're actually considering not making contact at all to protect the aliens from contamination. They're considering not making contact with aliens to protect the aliens. Yes. They've created something called a prime directive, a rule that says advanced species shouldn't interfere with the natural development of primitive ones. Juan was stunned. Most species saw less advanced civilizations as opportunities for expansion or exploitation. Humans were treating them as something precious to be protected. The final test was the most dangerous. The council gave humans the opportunity to conquer a planet with no consequences. They made it appear that the planet was uninhabited but rich in resources humans needed. Song, what are they doing? They're sending exploration teams, not invasion forces. They want to make absolutely sure the planet is uninhabited before they take anything. They're also developing plans to preserve the planet's ecosystem if they do establish colonies. They're worried about damaging an empty planet. They're worried about damaging any planet. They think planets are rare and valuable, even without intelligent life. When the tests were complete, Juan presented the results to the council. General Choi listened in growing disbelief. They passed all the tests, Choi said. But that's impossible. The scenarios were designed to reveal violent and exploitative behavior. They passed because they don't think like other species, Juan explained. They don't see other beings as competitors or resources. They see them as potential friends or family members. But they're still category red, Choi insisted. Yes, but not because they're evil, because they're powerful in ways we never imagined. They have the technology to destroy planets, but they choose to protect them. They have the ability to conquer other species, but they create rules to prevent themselves from doing it. Admiral Park was quiet for a long time. Dr. Juan, in your opinion, what would happen if we admitted humans to the council? They would change everything, Admiral. They would ask questions we've never thought to ask. They would challenge assumptions we've never thought to challenge. They would push us to grow in ways that might be uncomfortable. Would they try to take control? No, sir. They would try to make things better, whether we want them to or not. The council chamber was silent. Finally, Counselor Kim spoke. Maybe that's exactly what we need. The great council chamber had never been so full. Representatives from all 300 member worlds had come to witness this historic vote. The question before them was simple but revolutionary. Should humanity be admitted to the Galactic Council? Dr. Juan sat in the witness section, still tired from months of intense study and testing. Next to him sat Ambassador Nam, who had been chosen to represent human interests during the proceedings. The human delegation had arrived 3 days ago, and their presence had already caused ripples throughout the galactic community. Admiral Park called the session to order. We are here to decide the fate of the species known as humans. Dr. Juan will present his final assessment. Juan stood and activated the chamber's display system. Images of Earth appeared on the massive screen surrounding the chamber. Honored council members, after extensive study, I can confirm that humans are indeed a Category Red species. However, I propose we redefine what Category Red means. Murmurs filled the chamber. General Choi stood up immediately. Dr. Huan, Category Red has meant the same thing for 5,000 years. You cannot simply change the definition. General, I'm not changing the definition. I'm expanding our understanding of what makes a species truly dangerous. Explain, said Counselor Kim. We classified humans as Category Red because of their weapons, their history of violence, and their rapid technological advancement. All of this is true, but we missed the most important aspect of their danger, which is, they are dangerous because they refuse to accept limitations. Every other species in this chamber reached technological maturity by accepting that certain things were impossible or too risky to attempt. Humans reject this concept entirely. Huan activated a new display showing human achievements. In the time we've been studying them, they've made breakthrough discoveries in energy production, space travel, and biological engineering. Not because they needed to, but because they wanted to see if it was possible. That sounds exactly like the kind of reckless behavior that makes them dangerous, Choi said. It is reckless, but it's also the source of their greatest strength. They don't just adapt to their environment. They change their environment to match their needs. They don't just evolve naturally. They choose what to evolve into. Ambassador Nam stood up. May I address the council? Park nodded. You may speak, Ambassador. Honored members, we know you've been watching us and testing us. We know some of you see us as a threat. You're not wrong to be concerned. This honesty surprised many council members. Most species seeking admission tried to hide their dangerous qualities. We are violent, Nam continued. We have made terrible mistakes. We have hurt each other and damaged our own world. But we have also learned from these mistakes. We've chosen to be better than our worst impulses. How can we trust that you'll continue making good choices? Asked a representative from one of the peaceful worlds. You can't, Nam replied. We can't even trust ourselves completely. That's why we create laws and institutions to prevent our worst behavior. We know we're dangerous, so we build safeguards. General Choi stood again. This proves my point. A species that admits it can't trust itself cannot be trusted by others. With respect, General, I think you're wrong, said a new voice. It was Captain Lee, who had been monitoring human communications for months. May I share what I've observed? Park granted permission. 3 days ago, the humans discovered something troubling, Lee reported. Agent Song accidentally revealed that some of our tests were artificially created scenarios. The humans realized we had been deceiving them to test their reactions. What was their response? Asked Kim. They asked if they could help design better tests for future species. The chamber fell silent. They weren't angry about being deceived? Choi asked. They understood why we needed to test them. Instead of feeling betrayed, they offered to help us create more accurate and fair evaluation methods. They said they wanted future species to have better first contact experiences than they did. Ambassador Nam nodded. We know what it's like to be the dangerous newcomer. We don't want other species to go through the same uncertainty we've faced. There's something else, Lee continued. Yesterday, General Choi attempted to organize a preemptive strike against Earth. He was concerned that the vote might go in humanity's favor. Shocked gasps filled the chamber. Military action against a potential member species was forbidden under council law. However, his fleet was intercepted by human ships before he could launch any attack. Impossible, Choi said. Human technology isn't advanced enough to detect our ships. It is now, Lee replied. They've been developing defensive technologies in secret. But here's the important part. They only use defensive measures. They could have destroyed General Choi's fleet, but instead they disabled the ships and rescued all crew members. They saved their potential enemies? Kim asked. More than that, they're requesting clemency for General Choi. They say they understand his concerns and don't want him punished for trying to protect the galaxy. General Choi sat down heavily. His face showed confusion and something that might have been shame. Ambassador Nam addressed him directly. General, we know you see us as a threat. You're not completely wrong. We could be dangerous if we chose to be. But we're choosing not to be. We hope someday you'll see that choice as our greatest strength, not our greatest weakness. Admiral Park called for order. The Council will now vote on humanity's admission. All in favor? Hands began rising around the chamber. The count was closer than Juan had hoped, but humans had enough support. All opposed? Fewer hands rose, but still a significant number. The motion passes. Humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. Cheers erupted from some sections of the chamber, while others remained silent. However, Park continued, there are conditions. Humans will be assigned a council mentor species to help guide their integration. Their military capabilities will be monitored, and they will be required to assist in evaluating future species seeking membership. We accept these conditions gratefully, Nam said. After the session ended, Juan found himself walking with Ambassador Nam through the gardens of Nexus Prime. Dr. Juan, may I ask you something? Of course. Do you really think we'll be good members of the council? Juan thought carefully before answering. Ambassador, I think you'll be the best thing that's happened to the council in centuries. You'll ask questions that need to be asked. You'll challenge assumptions that need to be challenged. You'll push us to grow in ways we never imagined. And if we make mistakes, then you'll learn from them and do better. That's what humans do. 3 months later, Juan was back on the Lunar Research Station, but now it was a joint human council facility. Agent Song had been assigned as the permanent liaison, and she was teaching human scientists about galactic technology while learning about human innovation methods. Dr. Juan, Song called out. You need to see this. She showed him a report from the Council's Science Division. 6 different member species have begun requesting human consultation on stagnant research projects. They want to learn human problem-solving methods. What kind of problems? Energy production, space travel efficiency, terraforming techniques. The humans are approaching these challenges in ways no one else has tried. Are they making progress? They've already solved 2 problems that have been stumped council scientists for decades. And they're teaching their methods to other species. Juan smiled. They're doing exactly what I predicted. They're changing everything. There's something else, Song added. 3 other newly discovered species have requested that humans be involved in their first contact procedures. They've heard about humanity's integration experience and want the same careful, respectful treatment. So humans are becoming the specialists in first contact? It makes sense. They remember what it was like to be the dangerous newcomer. They know how to help other species prove they can be trusted. From the station's windows, Juan could see Earth turning slowly below. The planet looked the same as it had months ago, but everything had changed. Humanity had gone from being the galaxy's greatest threat to becoming its greatest hope for renewal. Captain Lee's voice came over the communication system. Dr. Juan, we're receiving a transmission from the outer rim. Another new species has been detected. What are the initial readings? Unclear. They have some unusual characteristics that don't fit our current classification system. Assemble a first contact team. Include human representatives. Already done, Doctor. Ambassador Nam volunteered immediately. Juan wasn't surprised. Humans seemed drawn to help other species navigate the same challenges they had faced Dr. Juan, Song said quietly. Do you think we made the right choice? Ask me in 100 years, Juan replied. But I think we're about to find out just how much the galaxy can grow when we stop trying to control every change and start embracing the possibilities on Earth below. Billions of humans were looking up at the stars with new hope. They were no longer alone in the universe. More importantly, they had proven that being dangerous didn't mean being evil, and that the capacity for violence could coexist with the choice for peace. The Category Red classification still existed, but now it meant something different. It meant potential for transformation, for growth, for pushing the boundaries of what was possible.